This is the Bill O'Brien Podcast.
That's pretty cool. Whenever he says that, I'm like, that's pretty cool.
With your host, John Meterparel.
Caught past the 25 to the 20 to the 15, goes Bond to the 10 to the 5 towards the end zone and in. Lewis Bond is the Eagle in the end zone, and Boston College is on the board. 32-yard pitch and catch. I don't even have to ask.
Think about it.
Take a bow, Lewis Bond. How do you like that?
Producer, Ciaccio.
Ciaccio was like
the gerbil in the back was cranking it up.
Yeah.
The Bill O'Brien Podcast.
This is a huge upgrade.
I'm thinking this is not bad.
Yeah.
Not a bad way to go through
That's
life.
cool. The Bill O'Brien Podcast reaches thousands of BC football fans each week. Your company has the unique opportunity to tap into this upscale audience by becoming a sponsor. Contact Mike Wynn at MWINN at Boston College at s.com for more information. No? No. You better read that one.
Just finish the back end. You just blew the block. The contact Mike Wynn at MWINN at BostonCollegeAS.com.
Just put the at symbol.
For more information. But
You read it.
Bill O'Brien did a good job with this John Meterparel imitation.
Now back to you, Chach.
I can't. And let's not forget, Bill. We can always not remember, but let's not forget. 2025 Boston College football tickets are on sale now. Bill O'Brien and the Eagles are gearing up to host 7 games at Alumni Stadium, including must-see matchups against 3 college football playoff teams, Notre Dame, Clemson, and SMU. The only way to guarantee your seats for these high-demand games is by securing season tickets. Visit bceagles.com or call 617-552-GO-BC to secure your seats today.
Back to you, Coach. You're supposed to say that.
Back to you, William.
Now down to the sidelines.
Now let's go with Scott Mutrin. All right, 3, 2, 1. Episode 31 of the Bill O'Brien Podcast, 2 days after Super Bowl 59. Episode 31, I think one person and one person only. I am going with one Cedric Maxwell.
Yeah. Oh, Cornbread Maxwell. He was awesome.
How about that?
And he's still around. He still does the TV, right? Or the radio?
BC games.
Does the radio?
Celtics games on radio, yeah.
Yeah.
I was at the Garden last night at the
Cedric
Beanpot.
Maxwell.
Looked up at the rafters. I said, oh, it's episode 31. There it is.
I thought
yeah, that's good. Yeah, the Beanpot was at the Garden. I couldn't go. I wish I could have gone. I know it was a tough game, but I couldn't go. I watched it on TV, though.
Yeah, it was those games.
Look, the BC beat them twice, right? 2 nights in a row, a couple weeks ago. You know, BU was ready to go. They were fired up. And
Top 10 team.
And BC's great hockey team.
You know what's going to happen. They're going to meet again.
No doubt. Those are 2 good hockey teams.
Right?
Hockey's championship.
You hope.
March 20th, March 21st at the Garden.
The more that BC-BU can play in hockey, if you ask me, I'm all for it.
Bring it on.
That's a great rivalry.
It's like BC and Notre Dame in football.
No question.
Right?
Awesome stuff.
What a schedule that we just read. And as we look ahead to 2025 a little bit here, but let's not. Also number 31, one of the greats in BC history, Jay McGillis.
Jay McGillis. I knew you were going to say that, and I appreciate you saying that. Jay, I actually knew Jay. Not very well, but because Mike Panos came in with Jay McGillis.
Yep.
Mike and Jay and that whole class of guys were very, very close. You know, Tom Nalen and all those guys. And so I would come up from Brown every once in a while to spend some time here, you know, on the weekends or whatever. And I met Jay a couple of times, and he was an awesome guy, one of Brockton's finest, and you know, very sad, you know, that he died the way he did. But we have a plaque in the locker room that I basically read every time before I lead the team out for the game. The plaque is right by the door that goes to the tunnel, and I read that plaque.
No kidding.
Yeah, because I just think that's what BC football is all about is Jay McGillis. You know, those are the type of guys we're looking for. We're looking for Massachusetts guys that are tough guys that care about, you know, all the right things in life, and so we got a beautiful plaque dedicated to Jay in that locker room.
No, that's fantastic. I did not know that.
Yeah.
How about the the legacy that Tom Coughlin has helped carry on. Tom Coughlin, during his lunch breaks, would go visit Jay McGillis in the hospital.
Yeah.
He was constantly there.
Yep.
And his family talks about that a lot. But now that the Coughlin created the Jay McGillis Fund, the last 35 years, think about the money that's been raised.
Right. And, the thing about it that I think about now, being in this position, as you guys know, I'm extremely proud to be the head football coach at Boston College because of, some of the coaches that came before me, like Tom Coughlin. And having gotten to know Tom Coughlin in the NFL,
yep, I
can see now why Jay McGillis was one of his favorite players, because that's who Tom Coughlin is, right? Tough, disciplinarian, very detailed. That's what Jay McGillis was as a football player. And, what they've done with that Jay Fund, we had our golf tournament on the same day that they had their golf tournament last year. I'm going to try to make it this year to the Jay Fund. Sometimes schedule-wise it's tough, but he's done incredible things with the Jay Fund down in Jacksonville.
And I think Jay probably would have been an NFL caliber player, right?
Yeah, very, very similar to some of the safeties. That he was a safety and he could play in the deep part of the field, and he could play down in the box, and then he could cover the slot. So he was a very versatile safety. So he would definitely have had a shot to play in the NFL. And the thing is, Meter, he could hit. He would knock the stuffing out of you. That was probably what made him what he was.
And he was on those Brockton teams that were top 10 in the country.
Yeah, he played with Tommy Colombo and all those guys, and
Rudy Harris.
Yeah, they were great. They were great teams.
Oh yeah, and what a tradition. And we sit here a year ago. You were hired. What a year, man! It must feel like a whirlwind. Does it feel like day 366 for you, or day one?
Yeah, it goes by. It does go by fast because you're working every day, basically. And you're trying to do the best you can in your role to make the program as good as it can be, and give a lot of credit to the people around me, right? Great people. Bears, Najarian, our coaching staff, the coordinators, Will Lawing, Matt Turin, and Tim Lewis. They've done a great job. Spencer Dickow in recruiting. There's just a lot of people. Blake James has really given us an ability to hire people to improve things, everything from food to the weight equipment. So we've made a lot of strides, but there's a long way to go, because this is a place that can win in football, and we chip away every day at trying to make it better.
Oh, you've done amazing work, and it seems like every day we're hearing about, now it's a dead period in recruiting. I know you can't talk much about this, but it seems like that's elevated, has it? I don't know how you would characterize it, but we recruit every day. So there's a part of every single day that we're going to recruit. Like when you guys walked in today, I have a stack of prospects that I'm watching on film. That's what I do. So every day I set aside 2 or 3 hours to just grind out some film evaluations. Over the weekend, I called 30 prospects in the class of 26, and so we are constantly recruiting, and I think that's the key, right? You got to find the right guys, but you got to work at it. Yep.
And over time, there have been some great. You guys are gonna listen to us talk to one of the greatest players ever here, Damien Woody. You find those guys, but you got to work at it. They don't just. BC requires a special guy to play football here, and they don't just grow on trees. So we work at it every day to find those guys.
It's always been a developmental program.
Yeah,
that's what we've always heard from any coach who's ever coached here. They say we develop. It's not just necessarily plug and play.
Right, and I think that's the key. Like when you say that, and I agree with you. People say, well, it's a developmental program. Sometimes that's not associated with winning. No. What that means is we want guys. We don't look. We're going to use the portal relative to our needs. If we have an immediate need, we're going to use the portal, offensive line, quarterback, whatever it is. But over time, we're going to recruit high school kids, and we're going to develop them into being NFL prospects. That's really what we're doing here, and we're building a program around these kids that reflects an NFL model relative to food, weight room, all the different things we do. So, yeah, we are developmental, but that's how you win.
And from what you've seen of the early enrollees, spring ball's coming around the corner here next month, but guys that are here early,
even the guys that you recruited, like from Alabama, Lonergan and Lockwood, how those guys acclimated themselves?
Yeah, all those guys are doing well. There's a good chemistry on the team right now. Fitzy's doing a good job. These guys are working 5 days a week. We had a 6:30 a.m. grinded out session this morning with the whole team. Mat drills, so to speak, and these kids work, man. I really enjoy coaching these guys. We try to get better every day. These guys give us everything that they got. The new guys have, really assimilated themselves into the program very well, and they've been accepted by the guys that have been here. And I think that's the key. And so I like where we're at right now.
Excellent. What's your plan for spring ball? How's that? Is that daunting for you to kind of plan that out?
No. Love it. The way that the year is divided. So January, February, winter conditioning.
Right.
Mental toughness, tough, a lot of conditioning work, weightlifting, bring the team together, encourage each other.
Okay.
Couple puke buckets around the perimeter of the fish. That's what it's all about in college football in January and February. March is spring practice.
Yeah.
It's all about developing the team. So now you're putting the pads on, and now you're beginning to, callous their bodies, relative to the physical toughness again. And then May, they get a little time off, academics get some time off, and then June and July they come back and they're working 5 days a week, taking class. And then, August 1st, thereabouts, we start training camp, and then we open up against Fordham. So the year is divided up. So that's one of the things I love about football is you're building this team, you're putting this team together, and you're with the coaching staff, the strength staff, you're building this team to be a very competitive team in the fall.
No, so it's all about the elevation. And, today's a significant day for one Michael O'Brien and Colleen O'Brien. Pitchers and catchers report to Fort Myers.
Oh, yeah, huge. Yeah. They're ecstatic about that. Michael's ecstatic because Tufts started practice last week. So Tufts started their practice. They got a new coach, Coach Stark, who's awesome. They love him. Came from Harvard. And they got a chance to be a good team over at Tufts, and then now here we go with pitchers and catchers at our beloved Red Sox. But I always tell Michael and Colleen, and I love the Red Sox, just like you.
I know you
and I we've seen it all with the Red Sox. Michael has only experienced basically winning with the Red Sox. You know what I mean? Basically.
Yeah, is he 20, 21?
Yeah, he'll be 20 in May, so he's seen 3 or 4 world championships. So.
He has not gone through the accident.
It's tough for those 20-year-olds.
He wasn't there when they let us out of school early in '78.
Oh,
to see
don't
Bucky F and Dent.
It's the 5 years now, the 5-year window.
Another great
Patriots haven't been in it, and the kids are like, "What's going on?
Going
We've
on?
seen them for 20 years, whatever." Yeah.
Another great documentary. Watch the documentary on Fox about the Red Sox blowing in '78.
Remember they let us
game lead.
West Elementary. I was in the 3rd grade. They let us out of school early.
Did they really?
Because remember, it was an afternoon game.
Yeah, I was
Keith Jackson.
In kindergarten, I think. Keith Jackson, Howard Cosell.
We walked home. Mike Lane and I. We went and watched that game, and it was a rough. Remember, and then Yaz popped out the Nettles to end the game.
Yeah.
That was always the knock on Yaz. Not a great clutch hitter.
Way to bring it down, Meat.
Jeez, Meat.
Bucky Dent documentary. Nice job.
I'm not saying Yaz was pretty good.
The 78.
Talking about the agony of being a Red Sox.
Watch the George Carlin documentary.
Whereas and it's funny you say that because I love Yaz, and Yaz was a Hall of Famer, great player, but Ortiz, greatest clutch hitter of ever.
The best.
Right?
Yeah, the best.
And you needed a big hit. Big Poppy was coming up with a big hit.
The best is that photo. Do you have that photo of the guy, the police officer in the bullpen raising his arms?
Yeah.
Do you have that at home?
Yeah, at home, yeah.
Do you? Yeah,
that's a great photo.
When he hit the homer against Detroit.
That's a great photo.
That's a must.
Yes.
Baseball. It's for those of us who are baseball fans. People are like, "Oh, what's so big about spring training?" I'm like, it's not this big, but it's just a feeling that hope springs eternal.
Yeah,
we're
it's
near
17 degrees today.
Exactly.
Like we're looking forward to at least getting into the 40s.
We were at the picnic table in Fort Myers. Chach would
feeding John Dennis some questions.
I said this to you before. People are like, "Why are you staying to watch batting practice?" I'm like, "It's baseball. Well, you want to watch batting practice."
Well, that's one of the best parts about watching pro baseball is all the lead up,
right?
The batting practice, the infield, the guys throwing, the way that they throw. Like when you go to a pro baseball game and you're up close. You guys know this better than me. You've been to a million of them. You know why they're pros. When you see it up close, you're like, oh, man.
The movement on the
yeah,
ball?
the movement on the ball, the way the outfielders throw,
Just the way that, like, the shortstop slides his feet, brings the ball up
so
to throw.
they
It's
make it
so
look so
precise.
easy.
Insane.
You heard Sal Frelick on the pod. He's like, everything is so precise.
Yeah.
Everybody throws on a line. Everybody, if you're an inch away, you're out.
Yep.
It's just that
Amazing.
that hair, yeah. And they still need a right-handed hitter. That's driving me nuts.
They're working on it.
Yeah.
Bregman.
I love the Red Sox. So I'm gonna
We're going to.
I'm gonna be very positive about the Red Sox.
We're going to a couple games this year.
Oh, absolutely.
I got you covered.
Just wait.
Yeah, I bet you got me covered.
I do
Do you enjoy
know
going
where
to
I sit?
Love it.
Do you enjoy going Fenway
He loves
with the
going
seats?
Fenway.
I like
love going to
Fenway,
the Celtics.
Tell him where I
Bruins.
sit.
except for right field. Meter sits like right behind the umpire. Right
Yeah,
behind the line.
I love. I've been fortunate to have most recently some great tickets. I like the behind the dugout
Yeah,
dugouts. you
right.
know,
Where
those are
like
very
Affleck
good.
Yeah.
seats are.
yeah.
What do you think of the Affleck commercial in the Super Bowl? Or I should say the Belichick and girlfriend commercial in the Super Bowl.
I did
from
see that one. I
Springfield.
didn't see the Affleck one.
That was with Affleck.
Oh, that was the Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin'
though.
Donuts jumpsuit. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That was great commercial.
Do you pay attention to the nuances of the Super Bowl when you're watching it? Do you watch it like a coach?
I've been in two of them, like as a coach, so I always it brings back a lot of memories. Some bad, some good. Obviously bad that we lost, but the length of the halftime, the lead up to the game. I can remember standing there in the 11th Super Bowl, and they sang "America the Beautiful," and then it was the Star Spangled Banner, and you're just like, man, I love my country, but we got to play this game. Like this has been forever.
Yeah.
Like you just like wanting to play the game. I just remember that. That's what just the emotion of. And then the halftime is really long, so you basically have like another whole, team meeting, offensive, defensive meeting to get ready for the second half. Guys,
Aren't like the TV timeouts longer too?
TV
Stuff like
timeouts
that?
are
Yeah.
longer, and then like the one thing that I always remember, and I felt like this for the Chiefs. Now, the two games that I coached in that we lost were great. No one can argue they were great games.
Right.
They were close games. They came down to the wire. Hail Mary to Gronk, Hail Mary to Moss. Those games were unbelievable. But that game for the Chiefs, it brings back this. You just never want to lose that game. You'd rather not go to the game than lose the game.
Right.
You'd rather lose the
That's
AFC
what Mahomes
Championship
said.
game than lose the Super Bowl. Because what happens is, and I remember this, is as soon as the game's over, the confetti starts falling and they rope it off. So in a normal game, you can go across and shake hands with if you know somebody or whatever. For me last year at the Patriots, a lot of guys that played for me at the Texans were on some of these other teams that we played, yada, yada. So you go, that game, they rope it off, and they just funnel you right into the locker room. Like, there's no going across other than the two head coaches shaking. That's it.
You're done.
You're done. You just go
Get
right
out.
to the locker room. And it's
Get out.
just
See you next
brutal.
year.
Brutal.
It was
deal.
a surprise from the dominance standpoint. I thought it would be a close game. I thought Philadelphia would win, but that was a dominant performance.
Dominant. Give Nick Sirianni did a great job with that team. Vic Fangio did a great job with that team. Kellen Moore, but give Howie Roseman credit, man. I mean, Howie Roseman has built two awesome Super Bowl teams.
Yeah, and,
Super Bowl winning
and
teams.
it's sustainable.
He built those teams, man. He built them up front.
Yep.
Offensive and defensive lines. Got Barkley this year. They changed kind of their mantra a little bit. Ran the football. Played great defense. Got Vic Fangio in there. I mean, got to give them a lot of credit. They've got a great football team.
Yeah, and they went out such a roll, Patriot-like roll at the end of the year, 16-1 in their last 17 games.
How about that?
I mean, how difficult that is.
It's hard to win. Yeah,
To win
very
one
difficult.
game in the NFL.
There's a lot of parity, so it's very, very difficult to win.
And Nick
But he's-
Sirianni now is up for a contract extension.
he should be demanding a lot of money. If I was Nick, I'd say back the truck up.
Oh yeah, no, and
Because Nick, the reason why I say that, not to sound like, is Nick's taking a lot of crap,
yes, he has.
and I know Nick, and so I think look, obviously we know when we sign up for these jobs that we're going to take some grief. I took a lot of grief in Houston. We won a lot of games there, but I took a lot of grief. He took a lot of grief in Philly, and he's won a lot more games than I won in Houston. And he's taken that team to 2 Super Bowls, won one. I mean, the guy's done a great job.
Yeah, and he looks like he's finally comfortable.
Yeah,
I think you
it's a tough job.
You talk to an Eagle fan, they tell you, oh, we didn't trust him,
right?
Whatever that means. But now it's stable.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. No doubt. No, he's and I think he's got great leadership on that team. With Hurts and Barkley and the line. The line they have with all those guys up front, and then defensively, the leadership. They've got some good leaders on that team.
And speaking of the line, we are going to dive into that with one Damien Woody. You mentioned him earlier, one of the BC legends, and he's going to go into the Super Bowl and much more his broadcasting career, and I know it means a lot to have him around your program. Yeah,
Damien is a legend at BC, just a great player, first-round draft pick, played for Dan Henning, and then obviously went to the Patriots and was Tom Brady's really his first center. And so it's an honor to have him on the show and, be able to talk to him. I'm sure people will love that. I think the other thing, too, is to – just real quick, we've hired a D-line coach. We hired a D-line coach here, Jordan Thomas. We interviewed a bunch of people for this D-line job, and Jordan Thomas was the best. Very detailed, young guy, comes to us from the Cleveland Browns, and he'll do a great job with this D-line. So we're excited to add Jordan Thomas to the staff.
It's great news. Sounds like he's got an impressive resume.
Yep.
Welcome Jordan Thomas to the BC football staff. And don't forget, beginning this week, audio for all episodes of the Bill O'Brien podcast will be published exclusively to the Podcast for Boston, the official podcast of BC Athletics. Be sure to like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can already find us on the Podcast for Boston or the newly redesigned BCEagles.com. Can still be found on the Bill O'Brien podcast channel for the time being. We are excited to continue growing the show and take it to the next level. And take it away, Damien Woody.
Take him out.
All right, Coach, you know what? You're a big offensive line guy. What offensive coach isn't? And we go big or we go home. We have to go to Damien Woody.
Absolutely. I mean, a BC legend, a Patriot legend. Was Brady's? I would probably say, Damien, you were probably Brady's first center, correct?
Yeah, I was his first love at center. So he got very acquainted to my rear end early on in his career.
when I was coaching Brady, like in the beginning of the season in training camp, we'd have to film the quarterback center exchange from the poor video guy would have to be laying on the ground. I don't know if he did that with you, but he was all about that he was all about that snap though, wasn't he?
Oh man, it was man, he was very very anal about the snap thing. So we just had to make sure that thing was right.
Well, yeah, the technical aspect of being a center, we'll get into that in a second, but your BC career and how it prepared you for the pros. When you look back at BC, what did it mean to you to play there?
It meant everything, man. Just from the beginning. Obviously, Dan Henning was my coach when I was being recruited, and I remember, Coach knows Dan Henning was a long time head coach in the pros, and obviously offensive coordinator under Bill Parcells. And I just remember having that conversation with him, like, we're going to move you to center. And you're going to be a great one. And I didn't have the vision of that, but he knew, he saw the vision. And when I came into BC, you could see the tradition. I had, Pete Kendall was my mentor coming in as a freshman. So what better way to really get your career started at Boston College than having an All-American and Pete Kendall as your mentor and show you the ropes. And, listen, we've always prided ourselves on the line of scrimmage. And BC gave me that foundation that set me up for my pro career, having a 12-year pro career.
That's exactly. I mean, I've studied your career, and BC has such a rich, as you know, a rich O-line tradition, and when we look at the guys that have come before these guys that I coached last year that we're coaching this year. We talk about that a lot, Damien. We talk about the O-line tradition to our team, to our O-linemen, and to the guys we recruit. And it's, they call, when I was at Penn State, they used to call Penn State linebacker U. This really is O-line U. This is a place where so many great offensive linemen have come out of here. And I would say my next thing is, can you just talk to us about the influence that your first line coach in the pros, Dante Scarnecchia, had on you, relative to teaching you about pro football, and what a great coach he was for you, I'm sure.
Oh man, I honored and privileged to have Dante as my first coach. You know, there's so many things that I could talk about with Dante. I remember I had, you know, one of my visits, my pre-draft visits was with the Patriots, and Dante sets me down. I'm thinking, we're going to go through all the great plays and all those type of things. He literally put on my worst game film. I played against Syracuse. It was my worst game as a student athlete, and we sat there for like 3 hours, play after play after play, and all he wanted to do was just see my reaction. Just see how coachable I was in that moment. Yep. And I guess I did something right in that meeting, and they ended up drafting me first, you know, in the first round. Yep. But Dante was always on me. Like from day one, he was relentless with the details. Everything with Dante was detail. Very detail-oriented. Yep. But that's what makes him great. He's not going to let anything slide. He's not going to let anything pass. But I always call him that little Italian, you know, that fiery little Italian guy. But he had my best interest at heart, and he wanted me to be the best player that I could be. And the only way to do that is by being him, being Dante. Right. Dante's not the quiet guy. He's not a passive guy. He's a literally in your grill, in your face, tough love type of coach. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the 12-year career that I had in the pros.
The other thing that you must, I'm sure you think about a lot, you know, having seen how it evolved over 20-something years, is just you were there in the beginning with Tom Brady. You know, you were there when it all really started. And I tell everybody, like, how, you know, because I came in the middle of Tom's career, basically, and, you know, I tell everybody how the offense evolved, you know, that, you know, over time, Tom became the guy that kind of ran the offense on the field. But when he first started, you know, you guys up front, you know, helped him run it relative to the run game and the protections and things like that. But it must be incredible to think back that you were there in the beginning of that career.
Absolutely, because I tell people all the time, Tom Brady wasn't a finished product when he came to the league. I know we tend to look at his career as obviously what he did, you know, especially like from the middle to the end part of his career, the legendary career. But I was there when Tom Brady was a fourth string quarterback.
Yep.
I was there when it was Drew Brees, John Freese, and Michael Bishop were the quarterbacks in front of him, where you saw Tom Brady methodically work his way up the depth chart. See, people don't understand that. You got to be developed into that type of player. And obviously you got to have those intangibles in you, the work ethic, you know, all the football IQ. But Tom didn't become Tom overnight. Like it was a process that he went through. And I think, you know, any great athlete has to go through a process in order to get to that point.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you look back at his career, you remember this well, of course. The first game coming off the Bledsoe situation in 9/11, you played Indianapolis at home. Mm-hmm. And that, as a fan sitting there watching that game, even though Brady wasn't great statistically, he had a command of the team. And we said the next day on WEI, he managed the game. But you know what? He managed it really well. In that huddle with Brady in that first game, what was your thought process?
Well, I was confident because you could just, you know, preparation is everything. And, he didn't have the gaudy stats, but the guy knew what the hell he was doing. And, you know, I always say, you know, people take managing as a slight. That's not a slight when someone manages the game. That, to me, is like you going out there and doing your job. And his job is command the huddle, make sure everyone's lined up in the place they need to be, distributing the ball to where it needs to go. And, you know, from that point forward, you just knew, like, this guy, he knows what he's doing. As long as you know what you're doing and then you're able to count on your other team to do their other players to do their job, you got a shot. You got a shot every week.
Right. Just real quick because I know we're going to talk about your playing career too more. Just, you know, I texted you over the weekend. I saw you on TV and how much preparation, because you are very prepared when you have those segments that you do you watch every team in the league, like during a season? How do you do that? Do you watch every game? Do you try to, you know, do you have access to that film you buzz through? I know the playoffs, it cuts down to less teams, but I mean, man, that's got to take a lot of work, Damien, to be as prepared as you are to talk about the NFL the way you do.
Yeah, Coach, I watch every game.
Yeah.
I watch every game.
That's amazing.
Because, the one thing, and Coach, you know this, you can't BS people.
No.
People see through that. There's a lot of guys in my industry that, well-known guys who think they can just come in, fly by the pants, and just, quote unquote, just talk ball. And it doesn't work that way.
Nope.
Like, you literally have to go out and you got to watch the film. You got to put the time in, because if you don't, people see through it and you don't last in this industry. So for me, like, it starts Sunday. Like, I'm watching the game. I got, all these screens up in my home where I'm watching all of these games. Then that night I'll go back and rewatch it, because you can't catch the final details on a TV copy.
Right.
You got to look at the all 22 to look at, exactly what's going on, defense alignments, the coverages, all the little nuances that goes with the game, and you make sure you take your notes. So that way, when you go on these shows, you're able to, talk about these things and drop nuggets that fans can appreciate. You don't want to get too much into the weeds, because they're fans and they don't know every little detail, but you want to try to inform them and make them become better fans, because if they're better fans, then it's better for the game itself.
No doubt.
How hard was it for you to learn that your first year at ESPN? Did you get coaching? Did they sit you down and say, Damien, here's what you need to do better? Tell us the why. That's a big thing, I think, with analysts. Tell me why it happened. And sometimes that doesn't happen right away.
No, I struggled initially because what it is, when you fresh out of the game, the first thing you got to do is sometimes you got to be critical of guys that you know well.
Yeah.
Right.
Critical of coaches you know well.
Right.
And that's a very hard thing to do, because you don't want to mess up relationships. And, for me, luckily, I had a lot of coaches, but one in particular, his name is Jerry Madelon, who was a long-time TV guy at ESPN, who was just a godsend for me, man. He was so good at just kind of breaking it down. Just let me know, like, bro, you don't play in the NFL anymore.
Right.
Like, this is your arena right now. So you gotta tell it like it is in this arena. And trust me, if you do that, then people will appreciate you more. And the further I got away from the game, then I think the better I became at it.
GMAT, I met him.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he is awesome. I've met him a few times at owners' meetings and
No kidding.
at the combine. Yeah, he helps coaches with how they deal with media too. He's very well known, and he's got a great sense of all of that. No doubt about it.
Do you feel like you're more comfortable? I know it's hard for guys, even if they're 10 years into TV or 3 years in or 1 year. Like, I'm sure you can relate to Tom Brady, what he's going through now, calling a Super Bowl in his first year in front of 126 million people, the highest audience ever in a Super Bowl. Imagine what he went through.
Yeah, that is so tough, being Brady's shoes, because it's next to impossible to meet those expectations. You come in, you're the greatest of all time. You're a 7-time champion. The record, the contract that you sign. It's just next to impossible to meet those expectations, especially your first year out of the bat. With all the things that I described as a player transitioning to media. But I thought as the season went along, he got better and better and better, because the dude, man, he had so much. Tom has so much in that, what I call that computer upstairs, that he can relate, to all the folks out there. And if folks really want to learn the game, man, just all you got to do is just listen to him, because he's going to empty the tank every week.
No doubt.
Yeah, no, he's definitely progressing well, and it will be as you know, it's a maturation process. Back to BC though, you're getting a degree at BC. You're back to school now. What are you, like Rodney Dangerfield now and back to school, or how does that feel for you?
Oh yeah, man. It's funny, because I had kids that are in school as well, and so they joke with me, it's like, Dad, do you know how to even use this technology? And I'm asking them questions about things that I'd never even heard of or never even used before, because when I was in school, everything was just pen and paper, notebooks. They're like, Dad, we don't do that stuff anymore. Like, everything is some type of app and all this
iPad.
Stuff. So yeah, so I'm just kind of navigating the landscape a little bit, but it's honestly been fantastic. I just said, number one, this was something that I told myself I wanted to do, needed to do, And obviously, and also I made a promise to my late mother and grandmother that I was going to go back and finish up and get my degree, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
When you, if you can think back to when you were recruited to come to Boston College, because look, I'm going to tell it like it is. This is a podcast that does reach, guys that we're recruiting. And I ask all the former great players, why did they choose BC? Obviously, you were recruited by several schools, I'm sure. What was it about Boston College when you think back, Damien, to why you chose BC?
Well, first of all, the school itself is second to none, and I remember all the getting recruited, and I remember Dan Henning sitting in the living room with both my parents, my mom and my dad, and the pitch that he just made is like, look, first of all, I want to take care of your son. Number one, your son is going to be in great hands. But he spent most of his time talking about the school, the education, and what Boston College would do well beyond, my playing career, both collegiately and the pros. He's like, man, that education, the alumni base, everything that comes with Boston College will serve you for a lifetime. Right. And he was absolutely correct in that. I've come across so many people, so many BC alums all over this country that have helped me in so many different ways. And even coming back to school now, finished up my degree, it's just been such a treat. Just professors and all the different people that I've been talking to, it's second to none. Then obviously being able to play big time football, the type of football, and I think I want to emphasize that the type of football that BC plays, it really translates to the pros. Right. When you talk about, perfect example, like look at the Super Bowl. Yep. Look, I talk about it all the time. The game of football isn't complicated. Big people beat little people. Up front. The game is up front. Yeah. The line of scrimmage is where the game is. We can talk about quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, but if you can't capture the line of scrimmage and win there, then you're not going to win. And so BC gave me that opportunity to be coached by the best, have it implemented in my DNA, and it served me well throughout my pro career.
Well said.
Yeah, that is perfect. What a summary.
Sounds familiar.
Well, that's that people were surprised. Oh, the Eagles dominated.
I bet it does.
Just what you just said, though, the Eagles, if you really want to examine that game, boy, they averaged 6'8", 350 up front. And that's hard for any team to deal with. I don't care who you have to on your defensive line, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like when you got big boys like that, yeah, that's exactly what it's all about. Being able to move people off the line of scrimmage and provide that protection.
And then flip it over to the other side. The Chiefs' offensive line. When they obviously Patrick Mahomes, they have an unbelievable quarterback, but that quarterback's only as good as those guys up front. And that matchup was a real struggle for the Chiefs. They just rushed forward most of the night, and they got to him. That was both sides of the line of scrimmage for Philly dominated the game.
Yeah, listen, that was the matchup I was concerned about the most in the Super Bowl was Philly's D-line going up against the Chiefs' offensive line because, Coach, I don't know if you were there with Joe Tooney. He was obviously a fantastic guard for the Patriots for a long time and obviously been great with the Chiefs. But when you kick him out to left tackle, guess what? You're weakening your line at two positions. Right. Because now you got a backup at left guard. Joe Tooney is not a natural left tackle. Going up against that Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, that was a tough matchup, and it got exploited.
Right.
Drew Kendall's a guy that's going out in the draft this year. Pete's son, center, all ACC center. If he called you and asked you for advice, or anybody called you and asked you for advice about playing in the NFL, what would you tell him?
Don't mess up the shotgun snap. Don't mess up the shotgun snap like I did. Don't do that. Be consistent with that. The quarterbacks hate when you don't get the quarterback and center exchange. When that's not right. So let's start with that. That's where the play officially starts is quarterback center exchange, and obviously from there, man, it's just understanding what the defense is trying to do. Every great center that I've ever associated myself with, they were always students of the game, knew exactly what the defense was trying to do. And you just go out there and just play your physical brand of football. If you do that, man, you got a shot to do some really good things in this league.
No doubt.
Yeah, no, it's certainly, we talked about at the beginning, the technical aspects of the position. How does one, is that innate? Did you learn that, or is that just something you grow in and you work with throughout your career? Are you born with that?
Yes. Yeah, listen, I was born with a lot of size, but I never played center until I got to BC. And so, when I got to Boston College, I switched, and it was a lot of early mornings, working, working the snap and doing all those things. So it just took reps for me. It was all about repetition. And, I turned into the player that I was, not only collegiately, but in the NFL. But there was a lot of people along the way that got me to that point. But you don't get good at anything without reps and really working at it.
A pleasure, and thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you up here soon, and best of luck at ESPN with everything else. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Damien. Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you guys.
That's going to wrap up another show on the Bill O'Brien podcast. Special thanks to Damien Woody, Steve Ciaccio, our producer, Mike Wynn, and all the crew at Van Wagner, of course, everybody in the BC Sports Information Department, and, of course, the coach, Bill O'Brien. I'm John Meterparel. Thanks for listening, everybody.